today's webinar. First of all, I welcome all of our speakers to today's panel discussion. And I especially welcome all of our attendees who have joined us through YouTube. The webinar for today is Transformation in Top Gear, Charting the Path from CXO to CXO++. A note to the attendees on YouTube, we will be conducting a Q&A session towards the end of the discussion. Whatever questions you might have, you might use the chat box on YouTube to send your questions. On your behalf, I will those questions to our speakers. Or if you feel comfortable, if you wish, you can also send your questions on emails to Mr. Vivek Shastri. His email ID is currently being shown on the slide, which is visible. Organizations that wish to join us, wish to partner with us for these webinar series, which we conduct every Friday, can send in their queries, their interest to Mr. Vivek Shastri. So just for our speakers who might have joined us for the first time, we conduct webinar every Friday. That is quarter time webinars. So let's start calling them, webinar Fridays. So that's an interesting thing to do. For all the people who've joined us, just a couple of times and might not be completely aware about what creating values is, we are an ISO certified management consulting company, and we provide strategic advisory services across industries. The four domains in which we provide our consulting services are people and culture, which is HR advisory; technology and risk is our IT consulting arm; business strategy and brand consulting. We also help organizations with regards to executive search services. We help them find the right talent for crucial roles that they have. So let's start. One second. Okay, so yes, so a note to the attendees about our next week's webinar, which is scheduled on 29th of May at 4 p.m. The topic would be Beyond the Bottom Line, a CFO's perspective on the people impact of COVID-19. Although, organizations have been discussing this has been, a topic of discussion on multiple forums about what is the people impact, what is the business impact that this COVID-19 has had on various organizations. So that is why our next panel would be, we would directly speak to the business leaders, that is CEOs as well as CFOs, and try to hear from them how is it that they are planning to, stabilize, recapitalize the business, and how are they going to utilize and leverage the human capital that they have at hand. So let's start with today's panel discussion. I welcome our esteemed speakers. They will be sharing with us some expert views, insights with regards to the transformational journey of CXO to CXO++. They have themselves handled multiple responsibilities throughout their own professional journeys. The current situation, although grim, provides a myriad of opportunities for the C-suite to leverage their business acumen and establish themselves as business leaders. The session is formatted as a panel discussion. I have the great privilege of moderating the discussion. For those who may have joined us for the first time, I'm Sujata, the Associate Director with Creating Values. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Uppal, Senior Executive Director, HR and IT of Maruti Suzuki India Limited. He has over 35 years of professional experience spanning diverse roles and responsibilities, including IT, HR, logistics, business analytics, CSR, etc. During his long career with Maruti, he has successfully established IT as a critical business function. He also drives Maruti Suzuki Training Academy that is tasked with building competent people across the value chain. Co-chairman of the CIO committee of CII and an active member of SIAM IT Group and National Board of Accreditation, NBA. Our next speaker is Mr. Partisht Mankotia. He is the CIO of Sheela Group, popularly known by the brand Sleepwell. He is a distinguished IT leader with over 24 years of experience in developing and executing IT strategies in alignment with business objectives. He has an impeccable business record with an understanding of not only IT, but also marketing, operations, finance, quality in manufacturing, distribution, etc. He has always emphasized on the digitization to bring speed and innovation. Our next speaker is Mr. Anshul Dureja. He is the MD and CEO of Creating Values. He has been a technocrat for most of his professional journey. Apart from being a CIO in his previous organization, he handled 5 other global business roles, including HR and sustainability. He is a happiness coach and an author in making. We call him the Chief Enablement Officer at Creating Values. I urge my extended professional community that has joined us on YouTube to listen in carefully for practical tips that may help you yourselves chart your respective transformational career path. So let's start with our discussion for today. I will be posing some focused questions to our speakers, and accordingly, I would request the speakers to turn on their mics and as well as their videos to help us move forward. So my first question, I would request first Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Pratish to help me with responses on this. With rise and adoption of digitization, are services functions of IT and HR getting closer to being business enablers? Your thoughts, please.
Just once, I'm going this.
Okay, you're just changing your head.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. You know, digitization was going on good, and it was being a prominent function in any organization earlier. But COVID has really changed the way you look at IT and all. And with COVID coming in, I think IT took a very center stage in the whole organization. Whereas everything was working from home, but IT was something which was enabling everybody to work from home. So I think that was a big change which came in at this point of time. And one peculiar change I see with COVID coming in was that COVID is one pandemic where employee health is at the center and is something at the risk. So with that in mind, all those process efficiencies, process change, where you can remove person from the whole system and create better and more efficient processes is the whole focus on that. So looking at our within 1 week time of the announcement of lockdown, we could change work from home from somewhere around 10-12% of people who are allowed to work from anywhere to 80% over there, and also so that you enabled the whole business to happen. Not only this, enable all the collaboration piece to happen across the whole company. So with the platform available on collaboration, ensure that the business runs and then after using that, I think the whole feedback is this is much more efficient and much more better way of working than the traditionally mindset of ours that we need to work on the this kind of thing around. And also along with that, I think HR piece, since the whole employee health came in the focus and in the center stage of the business, and we created something called COVID task force in the organization, who were empowered to rapidly implement and monitor all the SOPs required in this scenario, and very clear focus on 3 C's internally, effectively, from HR side. One is very strong communication to everybody. So that's all happening there. Second, around collaboration. And third is care for the employees. How do we really engage them? How do we make them comfortable? And in the whole, they are working with us on all the points around. So, in not stand of 1 month, more than 20-25,000 e-meetings happening, all reviews happening on that has become core of the whole stuff. So IT was, or HR was both were at the core of the businesses earlier, but now actually taken a next level leap and next level of engagement in the whole organization. So that's my view on this. Thank you.
Yes, rightly said, Mr. Rajesh. IT and HR were always the core functions, but like we've been discussing this, and that was the whole point, that although core functions, they were always looked at support functions. So, Mr. Partisht, what would you like to add here, that now from support functions, are they really looked at as business enablers?
So what I see first on the HR and the IT side first. So I think the HR is build the capabilities and IT enable them or build the capacities. So once build the hardware layer, another builds the software layer. The HR brings the software layer, IT brings the hardware layer. They both go together because IT is known for scalable. You can improve your people, but to scale it, you need a technology. I think both hand in hand goes very well there. And with COVID, what has happened, what Uppalji has said is rightly said, it has took the center stage. Generally, we were doing those things, but I think we have come more closer. At least business people were having the time. Say that they then spend more time on that. So there are a lot of opportunities or areas which all business function has worked over together. Whether your meetings was converted to the virtual one, whether your travel is changed to the virtual travel. So I think these things have happened. And people have realized the potential of these things. These things are many people can do. Actual use of technology, actually people have realized over accounting work, over audit work, everything worked very smooth. We closed our books also, or audited done. So I think these things people have realized, that all have realized there's a huge potential if both are synergized together, whether it is HR or the IT. That's my view for you.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Partisht, for sharing that with us. And moving on to the next question, I would direct this question again to Mr. Rajesh and then to Mr. Ansh. In the current COVID times, the value curve of IT and HR is more realized. How to sustain the same in post-COVID era? So, Mr. Rajesh, if you could share your views on it, that currently, yes, the IT and HR curve is more realized. How to sustain it post-COVID? Mr. Rajesh, you're on mute.
I'm switching between my two devices because of the problem of bandwidth over there.
Overuse of technology.
You learned a lot of these things in last, I think, 2 months now. Okay, just see, I always see, any crisis come with a lot of opportunities. And that's something which is happening at this point of time. I see the impetus of the change of, you need to, we are getting into a new way of working, which I just said that, remote and especially in manufacturing where, you have to come to office was always the norm. And now we have realized that this is much better way of working. Now, going forward, how do we sustain it? So for that, one thing very clearly, COVID is not going to go away. And we have to, as an organization, work on creating the environment and creating the whole policies, procedure around that this new way of working get established in the organization. Now, I don't think in near future we're going to have an office where we are not sitting less than 2 gaz distance or a 6 feet distance around. So how do you run your organization with new normal? Creating the new, HR structure of calling people on different shifts, working on a new method of evaluating the task and giving tasks to people around and making sure that our policies ensure that to happen. Your IT system get upgraded to do all the tracking required for your HR policies implementation need to be done and all. So if you want in a nutshell, going forward, how do I sustain it? I say this is, 4-step process: re-strategize, review, relearn, and re-emerge. So re-strategize means that you need to really work on the whole new format of structures, the whole organization, even right from office layouts to everything around in the office to work in a new way to work. and put your own priorities and make sure that you have the whole procedure and SOPs to work in a new environment. So that's point number one. Then you have to review this process and all, and put up a process that the new policies which have been made, or new process has been made, are contactless. So the lot of new processes will come in place where business will happen without person being removed from the whole process. Automation, maybe robotization, or lot of those processes will need to come in, so that the risk of going down, because time and again we are still listening around that some plant is closed and all because of COVID and things like that. So this uncertainty will be there and all. So it's better to remove the uncertainties by redesigning your processes and ensure that you are able to run that. Will be the whole review process of your whole processes. Third is relearn, and learning is going to become a new way of working around the way we learn our learning in the organization, or the way you unlearn the old way of working and learning a new way of working will be a new paradigm which you need to get through that in order to sustain this and all. And once you do that, I think you re-emerge or reinvent into a new way of working going forward. So I think this fourth step of process of re-strategize, review, relearn, and re-emerge as a winner is going to be a sustaining process which all organization has to run through.
Well, very well said, Mr. Rajesh, and it shows that 35 years of experience with, re-strategize, review, relearn, and reinvent or re-emerge. So thank you so much for that. Mr. Anshul, your views on how do we sustain, the IT HR curve, the way it's leveraged currently post-COVID era?
Sure. Thank you, Sujata. But before I start, I would like to say my thanks to both Pratisht and Rajesh to join us, and I would say share their words of wisdom over here on this panel. It indeed is a pleasure to have you both over here. And you rightly said, Sujata, correctly, that the true essence of both HR and IT is being tested like never before in these COVID times. Rajesh mentioned the challenges which we are facing in these times, and Pratisht really up the ante by saying that one is a hardware, one is a software, so hard layer and the soft layer of it. So I would say that's precisely what probably I would also echo. I would say the values of these functions have never been tested more than these times, and in these COVID times, they have been tested more than ever before. I have always believed that these two functions are always an enabler function. They are not only merely a support function, but these testing times have really been a testimony on their enabling part. We never knew how much our IT was till the time COVID happened. We always had doubts. We always had doubt in terms of how would our people function more in terms of a offsite, onsite. There was no testing. There was nothing. It was many of the organizations, they say that they had a BCP, but majority of the organizations, it's a fact that they never looked at their BCP because it just happened. You only learn and open your BCP to sharpen the edges or sharpen the curve of how you are working. But initially, it was all a toggle on and toggle off switch, which got enabled. I think how do we sustain it? Doing was far easy. It was more of a, I would say it was not a choice, it was a compulsion that the lockdown was extended and you had to do it. And it was initialized and you had to fall in line. But how do you sustain going forward? I would say broadly three broad pieces. First, I would say both of these functions have to relook at their own strategic roadmaps. So where do they intend to? Mainly, particularly with all the changes coming in the way how people are going to function, organizations are saying that, okay, we are going to extend work from home for a particular percentage of people. Why do they really need to come to office? And that and the entire, I would say, paradox has been changed in terms of how we would look at our people, their working abilities and all. So I would say that there would be a lot of changes in terms of the strategy roadmaps. There would also be, I would say, some pieces which needs to be co-merged. When I say co-merged, I would say just like technology, how does it really affect supply chain? Probably supply chain is making their own strategy roadmap. Where does IT get fit in? Similarly for HR, similarly for sales, similarly for production marketing, I don't know. So we need to see some meeting points across functions on their roadmaps. I think these would be one. Second is something, it is more in terms of the synergy, I would say. I think one of the great things of this panel today, excluding me, But in a way, I would say, including me also, all three of us have handled or are currently handling HR and IT in some way. So Rajesh is currently serving as the head of HR and head of IT. Pratish has already done it, and I had done it also myself. So I think my second point is related to that only, that both of these functions, these core key enabling functions, they need to carry on the synergies which they have discovered over this period in time. Last week, we had interesting webinar, and we had Ritu and Basant from Perfetti and Vijay from Hero, and they were talking about what all, I would say, how the newfound synergies have been, how it is really helping their organization. I think that needs to carry on. And third and last, I would say digitization is something which you cannot ignore anymore. You don't have any option as an organization. You really have to go. The more you digitize processes, you would have the human element to be played with. So you have technology at one side and you have human element at second side. I think both of these departments have to really embrace digitization going forward. So I think that's my summarization for you, Sridhar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. And absolutely bang on that, yes, we have to look at the strategy roadmaps, like every department, mainly the core functions, IT and HR, will have to look at their own strategy roadmaps, continue or to work on the synergies that they have built during these COVID times. And finally, digitization is the way forward. It became a compulsion. So why not, make it a choice and, embrace it full-heartedly. So thank you for those points. Now, as our topic is about the transformation of, a CXO to a CXO++. So my next question is very much directed in that direction. It is for Mr. Parthish. What will be the actionable things that you can suggest to our audience to keep in mind if they aspire to grow in their careers?
So my viewpoint, Sujata, thank you. My viewpoint on this, look, everything you have to see as a business owner, let me tell it to you. When time has changed, whether you are a CIO or CHRO or any of the functions, you have to look at the business owner. If you look with that eye, there is the ample opportunity which we can do it. But somewhere in the running, like when the car is going, you cannot change the tires. It's simpler way this. So something has come at the halt and we thought what can be improved, what can be changed. I think there's we live with the problems. That's a bit good. How post-COVID, as Uppalji said also, how post-COVID we sustain this, that's more important. Because this time has stopped. In our case also, we have seen that there are a lot of efficiencies in this. We have seen it. They have been improved. Where the people used to work, you needed 20 people to do it. Practically, we just improved that process during that COVID, and then now 10 people can do it. So enough to do it. Only we don't have the courage to do that. I think that's where we bring out the courage. How do we sustain this? It's a question. I cannot answer all our, can understand that's a difficult to answer, but I think we have to somewhere bring the courage to change it. That's a somewhere. Plus, the business sense has to be there. Why I'm changing it? What is going to be impacted? Is I always say we should not make changes to make it fancy, to feel fancy about it. It is not going to sustain it. So one can answer your exits. One can answer it that whether it is going to sustain it longer time or not. So that's the way my viewpoint. You have to bring that courage to change it, whether it is due to the COVID or without that. I think somewhere the event has to happen. This event has happened to realize the people, the potential, what's the potential people can do it. And imagine this COVID has made learn one more thing, which I say. People have worked in a team. Now the business owners, the IT, the HR, everything come together. Let's solve the problem. I think that's the approach if we can take it forward, because it's not that we don't want to do it. We all are so much occupied, we don't have time. So somewhere if we can bring, and sometimes simple things is missed out and we land up with doing complex things. That's the way I have to end my.
Sure. Thank you. Absolutely rightly said, Mr. Parthish. So yes, to grow in your careers, to aspire, it's a great thing. But how do you do it? Think like a business owner. Don't think like an employee. Have an entrepreneurial approach to have the courage to effect change and absolutely right that yes, don't just bring about changes to because something is fanciful. Think about the impact. The moment you analyze the impact and accordingly take a corrective step is when you grow in your career. So thank you so much, Mr. Parthish, for those words. I would direct my next question to Mr. Parthish as well as Mr. Anshul. What is the source code to transform from a CIO to a CIO plus or a CHRO to CHRO plus? Because like Mr. Anshul has rightly said, you all have been, the kind of professional journeys that you've had. You've handled both roles, an IT leads role as well as an HR leads role. So, Mr. Anshul, if you could start with the response and then we could move to Mr. Parthish.
Okay, if you would like me to. To be honest, I would say, as per me, I think there is no success code. Very truly, there is no code which you can follow. There is no template. There is no jargon, I would say. It is always, I think, you have to keep on doing the things as simple as you can, I would say. And the biggest, I would say, thing you can do is to make complex things simpler for you, your organization and your functions which you are leading, and for your customers, of course. I will share my own life experiences, I would say, in my last avatar prior to starting creating values. And in 2008, something roughly around 24 years back, I joined an organization as a VP and CIO. That was in 2008. In 2009, my then CEO wanted to start a new function and on environmental sustainability. And I opted for it. I said, okay, why not? I had never known anything about environmental sustainability, but then I became a chief green officer. In 2010, I became the chief people officer, and then thereon every year, I would say in 6 years, probably I was handling 6 global roles across 17 countries. I never found or still haven't found any code for it. But I would share some of the pieces I would give as a small tips if I can in my limited abilities to the attendees. I would say always aim to create values in the work you do. Try to make it simplify. Try to make that the result output should be a value to somebody who's using your work. I would say that is one. Go beyond your call of duty. Don't worry for rewards. And this is something which is very profound. I always believe in. Don't worry for rewards. Let reward found you. I think that is something. You don't worry for rewards. Let rewards found you. Have aspirations, real big aspirations. I would say there is nothing like not to aspire. You have to keep on having aspiring a lot. Develop acumen for hunger. Hunger is something which needs to be there in professionals a lot. It's very much in entrepreneurs, but I think in professionals also, when Parthish talk about entrepreneur spirit, and you also talk about Sujata, I think what distinguishes between an entrepreneur and a professional is the hunger. So if you can have a strong hunger, you could eventually lead multiple pieces. You should also have ability to say no to everything. I have seen CEOs and MD. I work a lot of times with them now. They want to listen no, even though they won't admit in public, but they want to listen no. So what is your aptitude and skill of saying no to your leaderships is something which is very important. Also, I would say your tech acumen has to be very strong. More than that, develop yourself and your team. Competencies are always big thing. And Parthish would agree with me that as leaders, I think we give the least priority to develop our own competencies, but we want to develop our team's competencies. So I think as we grow as leaders, we become a little stubborn also. So how do we really let go of that stubbornness, be more flexible in our approach? And we are as good as the rain yesterday or the rain today. We would be washed out tomorrow. So we have to continuously shine up ourselves. We are like batteries. We have to charge ourselves as leaders. And I would say last but not the least, make your team strong. I have handled 6 diverse roles globally across multiple thousands of people. The credit is not on me. The credit is on the fantastic team I would say I got and I was blessed with. So I would say there's no source code, but I think these are the pieces. You have to really look down at the bottom of the pyramid and also on the user-centric approaches. I think if you are able to do that, you would be as successful as Parthish or Rajesh are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. In fact, having worked with you closely for several years, you know, it's interesting the way you balance two things. One is that you always tell us that always say yes. Say yes to any opportunity that comes your way. काम आ जाए, हाँ बोलो. फिर सोचो कि उसको करना कैसे है. Figure it out. Do it. So that is one thing. But on the other way, other suggestion that you're giving to people is also have the courage or rather the skill of saying no. No
Yes.
to the leadership. So finding the right balance between saying yes to opportunities, but saying no to at times wherever it's required and it's appropriate. So yes, that is a very tricky balance that professionals like me need to learn. So thank you so much for that. So Mr. Pratish, to you, have you found a source code on how do you become a CIO plus from CIO or a CHRO plus from CHRO?
So, Sujata, thank you. No, I have not found so far the source code. But I think one thing I must tell you, what is important, whatever in every role and what it takes you up, I think is your attitude first. Only is one skill is there. You can learn these skills, you can do many things, but I think your attitude, you need to be humble in the life. That's the most important thing. Once your right approach is there, you need to be practical also, and you need to be action oriented also. You cannot because it also goes and it is part of the attitude only. That's the one area. Second area which I see it. Look, when Jack Ma said very nice thing. He said one must know how to synchronize, how to get work from the people rather than doing it if you want to be successful. Because as a single person, you might do a lot of things good, but you are alone. If you can bring together team and of the intelligent people, some Jack Ma said very nice thing. Stupid people, anybody can make work as a team. That's a very easy. But if you bring intelligent people together, I think that's a must thing. And I must think if my technology person is there, he should know more than me. If my programming person is there, he should more than me. That's what I expect as there in the top. I think there I believe that. And one in last, I must say that, you see, you have to take all blames and give credits to the others. I think that's the one I've learned so far, and I think one must do it. Things will come on your own way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pratish. And one very interesting thing that I can take from what you have just said is, you know, the clear distinction between being operational and being strategic. So at leadership level, once you're in a C-suite, once you're at a C-suite level, and if you have to transform into being a bigger business enabler, then you have to be more strategic, and your team, you have to trust them and task them at being operational and being better than you at being operational. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Pratish. I would request and remind all our audience to share questions. It's very, the times or the opportunities are so less when you have such kind of an esteemed panelist with you, people who have handled multiple roles, people who have been domain expertise of not just one domain, but have been cross-functional in their professional avatars. So I would urge my fellow professionals to send in as many questions as you can think of, and let's bombard them and let's learn from them. So I would direct my next question to Mr. Rajesh, and then we could move to Mr. Anshul. So Mr. Rajesh, first from you, I want to understand, how do you sustain this transformation if you're leading more roles, say maybe 3 roles or beyond? Yes, there are IT leaders, HR leaders, but what if you have additional responsibilities along with 2 or more? If you could share your thoughts on it, Mr. Rajesh. Sir, you're on mute. One of the gadgets will have to be on mute.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Just continuing to fare from where Anshul and Pratish has been just sharing and all. Sustenance, when you have a large number of people or large number of teams to be driven, I think is very critical. Leadership skill need to be built with you and with around. And some of the point some of them may overlap with what Anshul and Pratish said, but I think my sense on that is very clearly, first and foremost is, are you building your own brand or not? When I say building your brand, are you building your credibility? And to build credibility, are you learning regularly and all, with the point just made earlier and all? that's very, very critical that you build your own brand, you build your own visibility with everybody around. Now, to do that, I think, again, we spend a lot of time talking about it, but I think all so-called traits of leadership, whether it's the communication, whether it's collaboration, whether it's anything around that, is the one important aspect of your leadership. You need to come out and demonstrate that very clearly as your own brand and your own credibility around the organization. Second, very important is very clearly leading by example and leading from the front, making sure that you are there to support everybody. And I'll echo what the Pratish said on, taking all the blame and giving credit to people around. But I think making sure that you are there to guide, support your teams all the time available to ensure that they deliver. So that's second important area around that. And third, I think continuous innovation is something trait of that. Today, I don't think that any organization can be on a continuously, autopilot or a state mode. Either you'll go up and go down. Unless you innovate continuously, you can't go up, around, and also set up your whole innovation process in the company, where you are never satisfied with what is happening as a work as of now. How do you keep on improving? How do you keep on sponsoring the projects which are innovative in nature, so that the tomorrow is better than today? I think that's kind of mindset and work on that. And third, very strong process on delegating with controls to the teams to ensure that each person, each team member feel the ownership of the projects or the ownership of the company, and drive that through for you to handle the function there. So the right governance mechanism of handling these teams and making sure that you govern them well, you monitor them well, you incentivize them well, you communicate with them well to ensure that although the team delivers. So I think these are the one of the few traits required to really sustain the whole transformation which we have built in the organization.
Sure. Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Anshul, if you could share your views on the same. What about handling 3 or more roles like you did?
I would say I've handled 6, so I would probably share some of my own experiences. And I would say that from my experience, attainment is easier. When I was merely handling one role, I used to aspire for a second. I never knew I would got a third, but I would used to aspire second. So attainment is always easier. You aspire, you do something, probably your work speaks for yourself, you attain something. Sustenance is the most difficult part, I would say. So this is a very nice question you have put up, because that is something which is very crucial to, I would say, a lot of attendees probably who are attending today. But there are multiple factors at play. And there are multiple dimensions also. Expectations of your management and your superiors are always high. If you get new roles, if you are given more responsibilities, so there is too much of a micromanagement at your level, which probably nobody knows apart from you. You have also to be seen in certain organizations like a Caesar's wife when it comes to proving yourself on your performance. All your actions, all your non-actions are always on the table to be interpreted in the way they can be. What you speak and what you don't speak also count a lot. So that is on the management side. On your peer side, I would say depends on organization. Some organization have really a culture wherein you boost each other, but unfortunately in India we have a lot of culture wherein culture disparity is huge. So you might be in an organization wherein there are a fellow peer group of leaders who probably are waiting for opportunities where you are not doing well. But that is all natural. I think we all, and I've been talking very straight and very upfront. I think something which happens. Not many people don't speak about it, but I think today I have a luxury of speaking it, because that's what it's a natural thing. And there would also be employees who would also see you that this person probably has got more than what he can chew. So the jury would be out once you probably relinquish those roles or you have moved to another organization. What do you do? But more importantly, when you are over here, I would say 5-6 pieces, and I would try to grasp it. First, define who you are. I think that is the most important. Define your brand. I fully echo what Rajesh said. Your brand and your credibility. Your brand should be your credibility. I so really echo Rajesh's word. Constantly upgrade your own definition of who you are. As Pratish said, develop yourself, your knowledge, your skill, your attitude. He talked about attitude. I would say the full KSA cycle that should be developed a lot. As a leader, you should be also focused in terms of developing your emotional intelligence and your calmness. Both of them come pretty handy for you to sustain multiple diverse pieces. Improve your communication, foster on developing yourself as a great communicator and influencer, somebody who's a enroller, if I may say. Another point I would say, fall back on your team, because they are the most happiest ones with your growth, because the more you grow, the more they would grow also. So I would say always bank on your team. Look for mutual partnerships, not only within your organization, but also organization. Don't only think that you would have friends or foes within the organization. As leaders, you would have multi-dimensional. So probably look for your outside organization also. Ask question to yourself, are you doing the best what you could in these scenarios? How can you do better each day? Be critical of yourself, something Sujata, me and you are very good at, and creating values. That's why Pratish always stay happy with us. How do we become critical of each other, of the work we have done yesterday? Last but not the least, I would say there's a quote which somebody told me many years back, and I have always believed it. Nothing succeeds like success. Till the time you succeed, everything is under the wraps. The problem comes when you don't succeed. So make success your habit. Have hunger of success, have hunger of aspirations. Last but not the least, believe in something which is called, as a leader, you should have a Garuda Drishti and a Sarv Drishti. Have a visionary, be a visionary like a Garud, and be as operational, not to do micromanagement, but to have the grasp of things, what is getting underneath as a Sarv Drishti. I think this is all. And up to you, Sujata. That was what I could really have spoken on.
Okay, thank you. So, Anshul, rather, this panel discussion is an interesting one for me, because I'm hearing right from my boss's mouth how to make him redundant. And so, Anshul, you rightly said, so professionals like me have to learn that to grow or in your career, you have to make your bosses redundant and then move up the ladder.
And it is always a Sujata, I would say, as a professional, I would say two things in the last. As a professional, you should try to make your boss redundant. Strive hard for it. And as a professional also, you should ensure that you are 2 steps ahead of your team.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me those opportunities.
Thank you, Anshul. So now I would move on, we'll be moving on to the question and answer session soon. We've received several questions over emails from our attendees. But prior to moving to the question and answer session, just one reminder to everyone that we conduct our Cubinars every Friday at 4 p.m. So our upcoming Cubinar is on 29th of May at 4 p.m. The topic is Beyond the Bottom Line, the CFO's perspective on people impact of COVID-19. Finance leaders are at the forefront of navigating businesses through these times. So let's hear from them, what do they have to think about how they'll be utilizing, leveraging the human capital to stabilize, recapitalize, and bolster the business. So please join us on 29th of May, register for the same. As you can see, we have an interesting panel. Even then, we would have Mr. T.R. Maheshwari, CEO and CFO of Sahyadri Industries, Mr. Sushil Batra, CFO of Relaxo Footwears, and Mr. Manoj Agrawal, who's the CEO and CFO of Lok Advisory Services. So moving on to the question and answer session for today. And thank you, audience, for sending us those questions and bombarding Vivek's email box for the same. So thank you so much for that. So let's start with the first question. One of our attendees has asked, as the digital transformation continues, the central role of IT in modern business practices will only increase. So does this mean that more CIOs will assume the mantle of a CEO? So I would, although the natural choice might be Mr. Pratish, but I would rather go to Mr. Rajesh and hear his views on this. Mr. Rajesh, please unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
See, it's not a natural choice. I think you have to earn that position. So for earning that position, I guess you need to do a lot of things around, and which I think Anshul said, and I don't want to repeat all the points again. I think even if you're coming from IT or your finance or marketing around, I think this is one position which you have to earn. And for earning, you need to do you have to demonstrate a lot of those skills that you are capable of running it. And if you build that skills and build that credibility, the thing will come to us and all. It's not natural that it's CIO or CHRO and this has been a debate which is going on for few decades now. So
Sir,
I
even
think
statistics favor IT people.
it could be, but I think more than the role from where you're coming, your capability is more critical, and anybody who demonstrates that capability will be able to run it than really giving to a role of a particular function from where you're coming from. So I don't agree with that.
Thank you. So it's very encouraging for professionals from HR domain, from finance and strategy, that no, it's not necessary that only the CIOs would ultimately look at the office of the CEO, but it could be anyone who demonstrates the correct set of capabilities and skills and results to drive. So thank you so much, Mr. Rajesh.
Just to share, Sujata, and the benefit of our attendees, as per a Harvard study done in 2017, which we had used internally, the maximum number of occupancy of the C-suites from the professionals happen from finance, second to supply chain, third to sales, and fourth to HR. But the overall HR number was 2%.
Oh, okay.
IT was even lower.
So I really don't know which study and which statistics I should go by. Anyways, very encouraging. Thank you so much, Anshul. So Mr. Anshul, the next question I would like our audience has requested and has directed to you. A CXO++ is not only about the helicopter view, but core skills that are recognized by broader market and shareholders. What could these skills be?
I would say the skills would vary from industry to industry. You cannot have something as a thumb rule for across industries. So probably a manufacturing company in auto, just like Rajesh, a skill probably which he would require would be very different to what a building construction manufacturing industry like Sleepwell or Sheela Foam would really have. There might be some overlaps, but they would be totally different. If you think about a service as an industry, it would be a totally different at all. If you talk about BFSI, so it's not something which is there, but I would say some of the common piece which one should have ideally, I would say strategic thinking is one. I would say that is as a competency which everybody should have at that leadership level. The second would be, I would say, leadership and people management. Third could be a result orientation. Fourth could be a business acumen. If you don't really know your own business, and if you don't have a knack of studying the industry trends externally out of your organization, so your business acumen becomes a low. So I would say these are 4 or 5. Probably there might be another couple of. Then there would be behavioral like communication and all. So I would not go into the jargon of the competencies, but more than that, I would stress on the point that you should continuously hone your skills. So you should really upgrade your own levels within those competencies. Identify your competencies, something I had initially said also. Identify your competencies and continuously try to upgrade your own skills on those competencies.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anshul. The next question I would direct to Mr. Parthish. Mr. Sanjay Shilal from AVL India has asked this question. How do you onboard the production level employees to a digital platform, and what could be the solution? Sir, you're on mute. Yes.
Why first I raised this question, when you on people, you also see that what kind of digital understanding, because by the now even Upalji there or the companies which are doing it, where the HR role, the reason is only one of the study Gartner studies also, I think digital awareness has to be there in the organization. So I think it's not the process, it is the concept what is going to. So onboarding a people, I think that's when making a people join. People should have understanding of the digital it is required today. You cannot start from the scratch to people to make that understand, so they can live with the system over there. That's my view on that.
Sure.
able to answer.
Sure. Thank you. So, irrespective of the role or irrespective of the function, digital awareness is something that you recommend that
Yes.
individuals should have, and that is what would help. So, thank you so much for that.
I think can I Sujata add something?
Sure, sure. Sure, Mr.
I think even I can contribute on this, adding an echo into Pradesh. And but prior to that, if you Rajesh, you want to add something, because you have a lot of people
Yeah.
on the shop
On
floor.
production level.
Yeah. See, the point on this is, frankly, one is the digital awareness. I go by Pratish, what he's saying. But today, I guess, digital awareness at the consumer level has gone tremendously high. I see lot and lots of our casual employees coming to our plant with big smartphone in their hand. So I think basic ability to understand digital and run digital is important. Now, in order to, you want them to consume your IT, I guess your ability to deliver IT, which is, the word which Anshul used was simple and usable. Use your UIs in a way that, the way he's able to, use Book My Shows and make my trips on your mobile phone, which he's been doing. Can your enterprise application should be consumable like that? Now, if you start building those kind of building blocks in your IT, I guess consumer will use it, frankly, because they are today are savvy to that extent to be consumed over there. The problem has been our whole enterprise application has not been changing at the pace which normally, the consumer application has been changing around. I think the challenge for all of us is how do we really change our application to make it consumable by people at that level, because in their private life they have been using it, kind of thing. So I think that's the way to get it adopted. Unless you do that, the adoption will be low. I think that's my view on this thing.
Well, rightly said. And it again echoes the same thing that we've been talking so repeatedly, that have a user-centric approach. So if you're going to make any of your applications, develop any ERPs internally or take help, ultimately it should be user-friendly. It's only the adoption. Once the adoption rates go high, that speaks about the success of any application deployment. So thank you so much, Mr. Rajesh, for that. Mr. Anshul, you wanted to add certain tips here. So if you could please.
Rajesh just used the point which I was trying to make. So I had initially said simple and something which is user-centric. So he shared those points, and I would agree with him. There are multiple enterprise applications, so I won't want to take a name, but both Pratish and Rajesh are using in their own enterprise. In fact, I have worked on myself on those, and I work with multiple clients. So you don't have any friendly experience out of them. Yes, they are enterprise applications, but I think the challenge has been that how do we really use it effectively? I think that is there. Coming back to the point of what I would say this question came in terms of the production, I would say we have to really change the way we are working on our education system in India. I was speaking on a PhD conference some couple of days back, and there were around 50 odd institutes all across the country. And I was telling them, I think we really need to have a relook in terms of what all sort of a people we are giving back to the society, whether we are giving engineers or even people from IIT, ITI, or from wherever. I did my electronics engineering way back, but if you talk about, and at that point of time, we didn't have even a computers, they had just been gone live. But even if you talk today, if there is an electronics engineer, he would be given some level of a computing knowledge, nothing else. If there is a mechanical, he would only work on mechanical, that's it. If we want to really use artificial intelligence, we cannot just rely on the computer engineers. We have to make our mechanical engineers understand machine learning, understand AI, understand robotics, understand a lot of other stuff which we really don't understand at all. I think the bottom of the pyramid is very, very crucial. That's where when organization try to imbibe, that is not the right strategy in terms of hiring a person on the shop floor and probably after a week of training, you just put him on. I think that is not going to serve the purpose. Probably on a short term, yes, near term, yes, but on a long term, no. Have dedicated capsules being done internally in terms of training them on the digital platforms. and probably try to open their mind in terms of little bit of a innovation or a design thinking on a very basic step. These were some of the points I just wanted to add.
Sure. So if I'm able to summarize it a little better, just for the benefit of our audience. So like our speakers are saying, first of all, yes, have digital awareness. It's the IT team's responsibilities as well as the management's responsibility to to relook at the applications, make it more user friendly, have a user centric approach towards developing anything and deploying anything when it comes to technology. So thank you for that. And finally, it's also to understand the kind of trainings that we are giving. Are we still focusing on the trainings which are just job specific, or are we really intending to and making efforts towards developing our people more to make them more technologically savvy, give them a few more trainings beyond their exact job roles? And finally, yes, I think there have been several forums wherein speakers have agreed that educational institutions need to relook at the kind of coursework that they are doing, at the kind of practicals that they are giving to their students, so that we get industry ready professionals and not very crude not very crude students whom ultimately we just try to train on a specific job. So yes, educational institutions do need to take a look at their coursework. So thank you for that. One question that I want to ask, and I think I would request each of the speakers to dedicate maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute and share their views on it. Whenever we talk about a career growth, to a great extent, maybe at least to mid management level, you would only see a vertical growth, promotion after promotion, maybe from a manager to a senior manager, and accordingly the designations just go on increasing. But that's a vertical growth. What about the lateral or the horizontal growth? When we are talking about someone handling multiple domains, like all of the three dignitaries here have done it. So not just handling IT, but handling HR, handling business, handling strategy. So what is the something that you would want to give as an advice to junior to mid management professionals, because they only look at a vertical growth? So Mr. Parthish, if you could share your views, then we could move to Mr. Rajesh, and then closing comments by Mr. Anshu.
So my first foremost view is you have to understand the business first. I think business understanding has to become first. And second, then of course somebody has said that there should be, Rajesh said that there should be hunger into it. Look, you have understanding of the business, you have the hunger. I think these two approaches, if it is your mind, if your is backing up somewhere, and you have to go out of your function also. You have to understand how things are happening in the organization. And in last, I must say, whatever you do, be it small, be it what, you must have value. You should have done it, that no one has done it like that. I think that's the approach one can take it.
Sure. So, Mr. Rajesh, if you could give some tips or some advice to junior to mid-level professionals.
Just to add to what Pratish said, I think 100% agree to what Pratish said about just one.
Having business understanding.
But I think more than that, when you talk about young people joining the industry and mid level, I think my always advice to the people I mentor normally for their career is, initial part of your career, you must change different roles to understand, various dimensions of doing business. Now, normally people start into one role and try to grow vertical into that. I think initial part of the career, it's better to have the, rotation laterally into different function area. You are in supply chain, get to engineering, get to maybe some quality area or manufacturing area around and all. Get something around that. Once you are through with all the various dimensions of the business, then you decide on, okay, I'll build career on one of them and all, and then grow vertically into that area. I think that makes you better leader to take the things forward than being a traditional way of working onto the one area and sticking to that. And I'm an IT guy and I will be IT guy all my life. I don't think, and in my company, I keep trying to shift people from, various different functions to one area just to get their whole development to really understand the business on a 360-degree basis. I think that's the basic philosophy. And most of the leaders in our company who are there, have been gone through that process, and they have handled more than one business functions to take up leadership role, and then they do start heading those functions and start driving that function from the top.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. So, Mr. Anshul, over to you.
I would say any day wider, not vertical at all. I would totally echo what Rajesh said. Have to have a wider imprint of your own experience. Try to go for more challenging role, understand your business, but never do job hop. I would say stay in the same organization. Choose your organizations very carefully. Learn business. Business understanding, as Pratik said, is far more easier said than done. It takes number of years. Stay in the organization. Become a champion within the industry of what all you do. I think that is something which I would always profess. Try to be a leader rather than a vertical.
Yes. So ultimately, stability is something that would help an individual grow professionally and not just vertically, but laterally, and become a CXO plus one day. So thank you so much for that. And with that, I think we are close to the completion of today's video panel discussion. So I thank all of our panelists who joined us, Mr. Rajesh Uppal, Mr. Parthish, and Mr. Anshul. And thank you so much for sharing your, some learnings that you have picked out throughout your professional journey, and a few tips that you've shared with, my peers who have joined us on YouTube. So thank you so much, esteemed dignitaries, for sharing.
Thank you, Sujata. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Pratik.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.